lot of you talk about coming down and bringing your stuff, and I know I've made many videos telling you not to bring your stuff, and there's a good reason for it. So I was just passing one of our apartments and I saw, well, it had to be another YouTuber. She had the same setup as I have in my apartment, so maybe next time I see her when she's not recording, I'll stop and say hello. I gotta say, I was watching the news and it's blizzarding up north, and all I can say is, God bless you. I hope you like the cold. I'm sure some of you and many of you do, but I'm just so happy to be here today. It's so nice. It's not hot and it's not cold and it's not humid. It's absolutely a perfect day. Have you ever had a friend who was going to do something big in their life, and you've done something just like it, and you know all the pitfalls, and you're trying to tell them, but they're not listening, and you're like, please listen to me. That's how I feel about folks who are moving down to Florida. Thankfully, many of you do listen because when you get down here, you realize that what I say is true for most of us anyway. The thing is, I tell people, and I've made videos about this, but I really want to focus a little bit more on this topic about leaving your stuff behind up north if you're moving to Florida or anywhere in this country, especially if you're moving out of state. If you're moving to cities a little easier and you're in your same territory and things are a little similar as far as houses and apartments go. But when you come down to Florida, especially South Florida, Southwest Florida, Southeast Florida, it's a different world down here. At least it feels like that to me. So I have said, sell everything that you possibly can. Give it away, donate it, throw it out. Those are usually the few things that you could do with it. Give it to your kids. Usually your kids don't want your stuff. So just give it to somebody who's going to appreciate it, or sell it to somebody who's going to appreciate it. You could sell it on Craigslist, consignment shops. You could put your stuff on eBay, Amazon. Of course, it takes a lot of time to try to sell online. Craigslist is great for furniture, consignments. I love consignment shops if you can find them in your area. Down here, there's lots of them. So here's the reasons why I say get rid of your stuff, because you're like, why would I get rid of my stuff? I love my stuff. Well, I love my stuff too, but I knew this is what the reality is. Unless you're wealthy, where you could buy a huge house, there's no place to put your stuff. And I'm just saying, for most northerners, we come from maybe homes with basements, with garages, where you could store stuff in your garage. I'm going to get into that in a minute about storing stuff in Florida in your garage. Don't do it. Here in South Florida, you usually don't have attic space. And even if you do, unless it's air conditioned, which it's not 99% of the time, you're not going to want to put stuff up in an attic where it gets 100 and who knows what degrees in the summer. And you don't want to store in the garage. And there's no basement. At least not that I know of down in the southern part anyways. I heard some people say up in northern Florida there may be basement space. But you're going to come from all this room to a place where there's going to be very little room. Even if you have a big house, just remember, you don't have that extra basement, which is like a whole nother house, that all that space down there. Because we had an 1,800 square foot house in Ohio, an 18 square foot basement, a 1,200 square foot pole barn workshop, another shed, you know, for shovels and whatever, because we were on 10 acres, so we had all this land to take care of. So we weren't going to be moving to Florida onto any large property, so all that equipment had to go. And I knew that whatever I was going to bring down to Florida was going to have to fit into this pod. There's a few ways to move to Florida, and some people use pods or something similar, storage container. They rent a U-Haul, they rent a moving company. So there's different ways to do it, but either way, it's a lot of money, some more than others. We wanted the storage container where nobody can get into it, put a lock on it, and it was just more convenient for us to do that. So I knew whatever I was going to bring had to fit in there. And my brother and my husband put a chalk mark in our garage back in Ohio, and we had to fit whatever boxes we had into that square or rectangular shape, because that's the space that I would have in the storage container. I thought I got rid of everything because I was working on it for 3 years before I even knew I was ever going to move. I just knew I wanted to declutter, get rid of things, and I started off with things I really didn't care about. When you're 20 or 30, you probably don't have a lot of things yet, unless you have kids, and unfortunately, we start piling up. I never bought any toys for our kids, but you know, there's grandparents, aunts, uncles with kids who pass on toys and toy sets, and so that takes up a lot of space. Don't bring all that stuff down. You just don't have the space. So besides the cost, because that pod cost me $2,500, and that was 9 years ago, almost 9 years already. So I don't even know what it is today, from all the way from up Ohio along Lake Erie all the way to Sarasota County. So there was no way I was going to get 2 of them. That'd be $5,000 for stuff that's not worth anything. My most valuable items are all my photos and artwork that was created by family. That's pretty much it. As far as if there was a fire, if I was going to miss anything, that would be it. I know I've been trying to put pictures up into the cloud in case something like that were to happen, but I like to see the pictures, so I'm not going to get rid of the pictures. I like to sit down. Otherwise, I never really go to the cloud and go looking at pictures. I like to sit down next to my kids and go through very old pictures of my parents and grandparents or me as a kid, and you know, tell them all about the family. The other reason is there's a good chance that you're going to break many of your glassware, china, if you have any. Furniture is going to get scratched up. It's going to be quite a mess. If your mattresses are old, just throw them out. It's time for a new one. On furniture, there are so many furniture shops down here, consignment shops with beautiful furniture, because people move in and out of Florida. Elderly people pass away and they have this beautiful furniture because they take good care of it for so many years. You could get some really beautiful furniture. If you're into more new type of furniture, you got IKEA, you got furniture stores everywhere. So the main thing I want to get to is the garage. I can't tell you how many people move down here and their garages are full to the top, to the ceiling, just packed. So number one, they can't put their car in the garage. You got to keep your car out of the sun somehow, some way, because if you don't, your batteries will die quicker. Just like up in the cold, if you leave your car out, your battery doesn't like it when it gets really cold. At least back in Ohio, I had that problem when I was younger. I didn't have a garage, and the car stayed outside, and I'd have to call AAA, and then they would have to charge my battery, or I'd have to get a new one. And on top of that, Florida sun can get very, very hot, and it does, and it can take the paint off your car. You'll see a lot of cars that the paint's peeling off, and it's because they're not keeping it covered. So if you have a garage and you come down to Florida, keep your car in the garage, keep it covered. We try to park under trees, but the problem with that, sometimes then you got the bird that poops on your car. So make sure you clean that off if that happens, but keep it out of the sun. Now, we had our house for 8 years in Sarasota County, and we never had a bug in our house, except for we had lizards and frogs that snuck in, and the kids would catch them and take them outside. But the reason was because I would spray and throw those granules in the grass outside, all the way around the perimeter, around the windows outside, so because I never wanted to spray inside the house. And you know, you have to wear masks and gloves. You don't want to touch that stuff, just so you know. Some people I see grabbing the granules in your hand. Don't do that. I had a brother who got very sick because I had put it on the grass, and I got on the sidewalk, and he walked out barefooted, and he had an allergic reaction. It was not good. So be very careful. Once you put those granules down, by the way, you're supposed to water your grass or do it right before rain, and then it's not supposed to be so toxic. The garage is another story because it's not sealed. Try to, if you have a garage in your house in Florida, make sure you have a nice rubber seal, make sure it's new, put a new one on there. Try to, and always keep your garage door and doors and windows in your home closed. This way it kind of keeps them out. But if you have all these boxes in your garage, number one, you're gonna get mold. And if you brought those items all the way from the north and you think they're important to you and you have them just sitting in your garage, they're not that important. I promise you. You'll forget what's in those boxes. Two, besides the mold, you will get spiders, ants, cockroaches sneaking in from the the woods next door or wherever you are. So, or if it rains a lot, you can get a rain that might seep in, and then it gets into your cardboard boxes and it seeps and it ruins everything. So if you get to your new destination and you see that you can't fit everything into your house, find consignment shops. And that's what happened to us. I had this pod and I thought I just got rid of my whole life pretty much, except for the basics. And when I got to our apartment, because we went to an apartment before I bought the house that we had, I realized I still had too much. And I had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So it was a nice size apartment, but I didn't have a garage. I could have paid extra for a garage, but it was like $150 extra. I was like, I'm not doing that. We didn't know how long we were gonna stay there, what we were doing exactly. That's why I say don't buy a house first unless you know you're gonna stay put for a while. I had all this extra stuff. I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna just have them sitting in the living room in boxes. So I took them to consignment shops and I was able to sell off a bunch more stuff, and I don't even remember mostly of what I had. You'll have to watch the video. I made a few videos with more details about getting rid of stuff, decluttering, minimalizing your life. You'll feel so much lighter when you do. The other thing too, when you start stacking boxes on top of each other, they just start smashing on top of each other over time because it gets humid in there. And even if it doesn't get moldy, it's gonna get humid and kind of damp, the cardboard, and it starts sinking and it'll smash. I've seen it. It looks like mush after a few years in people's garages, and they keep it. Even after it's mush, they haven't emptied out their garage and just like throw it out, put it on the street. If you go to Craigslist, there's something called Curb Alert. You can put free stuff, Curb Alert, just take it. And the thing with cardboard boxes, it attracts silverfish, spiders. They look for places to hide. They like corners and go in between things and make their home in there. And your stuff's just gonna get ruined. I promise you. You leave it in the garage for long enough, it's gonna get ruined. And if you have to keep your stuff, rent a storage unit and climate controlled storage unit. Make sure it's not on the first floor, because even if you're not in a flood zone, this is Florida, anything could happen. Between rains, just summer rains, just staying overhead for a few days, it could really rise the water depending on exactly where you are, and you don't know what's going to happen. A hurricane comes through, a tropical storm, but just those summer rains can produce a lot of water, so having your storage unit off the ground is kind of handy, and I think it would probably help be beneficial for bug reasons. And I don't want to scare you with the bugs because I don't have any issues, but I'm careful. You know, I don't go out when the mosquitoes come out. Like I said, on my house, I always made sure that the granules or the spraying was taken care of. So, you know, I'd never have issues as far as bugs go, but not everybody's so, you know, on top of things like I am. I'm a little nuts when it comes to making sure, because it's because I must be allergic or something to the bites, because I swell up if a spider or ant were to bite me. So I'm like a little panicked about them biting me, because I will swell up, and I don't want that to happen. A lot of fires start in the garage. The circuit breaker is in the garage, at least ours was, and ours actually started a little fire, and we had to call a fire truck. Oh, I forgot about that. Rick ran out there and he passed out from all the smoke, and it was a big ordeal. I forgot about that. So that's probably why. And if you had boxes in there, which we didn't, our garage was like empty other than we hung our shovels and ladders, you know, real neat and organized. Yeah, if you had boxes in there and your circuit breaker starts a little spark or fire, I've seen several houses that caught fire. One was just a block or two away from our house, and I wasn't thinking why, fires start in the garage, but until it happened to us, I totally forgot about that. So be careful with that, because like I said, it's humid down here in the summer, and your electrical, make sure you check your electrical. That's a whole nother story. All getting off topic here on what to look out for with humidity and it's just different. The life down here is different. It's warm, the weather's different. Like right now, there's blizzards up north, and it's beautiful today. It's like, I don't know, 70s. The birds, everything's different. The way things are, it just seems a lot easier. There's a lot of mobile services. Sometimes we don't think about, when moving to another state, how it can be different. The people could be different. Here, I notice people just from all over the world, so I just love that. Declutter, minimalize. I know it's very difficult. It was for me at first, and I'm gonna look and give you the links to the videos I made, so I don't have to repeat it here what I said, so you can get more details of how I got rid of stuff, because I know it's not easy when you're sentimental. There's nobody more sentimental than me. I'm super sentimental, super sensitive, so it's difficult to get rid of the things that somebody gave to you or has memories behind it, so I understand. The other thing I want to say too, if you're going to keep a box or two in your garage, I would get some Rubbermaid plastic boxes. Don't put any cardboard boxes in your garage. All right, I've said it enough. I don't want to sound like a broken record. I hope it helps a little bit, because I just wanted to refresh everybody's memory about getting rid of stuff before coming down here, because I have a lot of people that are really finally taking the leap. They're moving down here. They're here. So if you're one of those people who are like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever get there, let me tell you how many people have been watching this channel. They watched the videos. They said it was helpful to them, so it makes me happy that I could share my experience to help others. And don't give up hope. Eventually you'll get here if that's what you want to do, but you have to plan. You have to start ahead of time. It doesn't matter if you're moving in 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, 5 years. Start now. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up. Please share. Don't forget to subscribe. And most importantly, don't forget to live a passionate